Well, good morning, traders. It's a hot, muggy day here in South Africa, and it's just after 8 a.m. Let's go look at the various charts that are. Oh, and by the way, the power's just gone out, so we have about 4 to 6 hours of power outage every day. So I had all my charts set up, and it's all just gone off. So I'm working off my laptop now. So bear with me if I can't see properly because it's dark and my screen is pretty small. All right, so let's have a look at the euro. Look, not much happened yesterday. It was a bank holiday. Not much going on in the markets. So pretty quiet day, and you'll see that most of the charts were pretty directionless. So nothing's really changed since Friday last week. But let's go through anyway. And we have a look at the euro over here. And you can see yesterday was a sort of a very tiny day. No indication of any direction change. We've got a couple of, I suppose, potentially doji candles here, but these are just hesitation candles. We had a big bullish day on, so this was yesterday, Friday, on Thursday. We haven't gone up from there. We haven't gone down from there. A little bit of a spike higher yesterday. Just a slightly higher. That was actually a little gap higher, but nothing really happening. And today we're edging higher. So I'm still not ready to call out any short positions on the euro or any long positions for that matter. So we're going to have to just leave the majors alone, except for perhaps one, and that's the dollar yen, which we'll have a look at shortly. So the pound, very similar to yesterday. We gapped up, had a spike high. Gapped up over the weekend. That one stopped us out, and we're back to below where we were. So we would have still been in short if it wasn't for that weekend spiky gap. Well, we've gone nowhere since then, back down to where we were. And today, during the Asian session, just a very small candle so far, so nothing going on. We do have some news today, so we'll have a look at that briefly and see what's going on in the news. And then as far as the other majors go, I'm not going to go into these because these are just going to be boring. They're all the same. And we're all looking for the dollar index to make a move. So we've got the Australian dollar, we've got the euro CAD, which we're still short on. That hasn't moved anywhere for 3 days. So until that moves up and stops us out, or moves down in our favor, nothing to be said on that. And the same goes for all the other CAD pairs, pound CAD, Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD. So I don't really want to comment on those either. But I do want to talk about the dollar index. That's this one over here. And we talked about forming a low against this green line and this blue line. So this is at 102 and 101.30. These are the key levels. And if you look back over here, you can see this green line is that previous low. If we look at the weekly chart, you'll see it's also a kind of a support area offered there by before this dramatic move up and down. And this is going back to 2020, but you can see it was if you try and imagine those didn't exist, these two large candles here, and look at that as just a hillock in the dollar index, we've reached the top of that hillock. So that's a support area. This is a support area. This is the weekly chart. And we've got this 50% Fibonacci that we're at the moment. I want to change this to a regular scale. I don't know why it's logarithmic. I think switching between charts. So, so we've reached support. And that's the best that can be said for it. If you look at it on the weekly chart, there's no rejection from there just yet. So at this stage, all we can say is that we're in a downtrend, except that this downtrend is very overextended. We have chopped off half of the entire move up at this stage, which is a good place to at least have a bounce. If you look at the Fibonacci levels, the 38% in a strong trend, the trend will often reverse. The 50% is a kind of a solid level. As a rule of thumb, if you look at any charts, whether it's hourly charts or 4-hour daily charts, weekly charts, these are often good areas to buy as a rule of thumb. 50% retracements, So if you're in a trend, you have a bullish breakout on an hourly chart through resistance, for example, and you're looking for a place to buy a pullback, look for a 50% retracement of that candle. And if you put this on a yearly chart, I guess that's what it will look like. Let's just quickly have a look. 12 months. Okay, so that's kind of weird. So look at that 12-month chart. We've had this big spike up. That's definitely, I mean, it's difficult to say from a 12-month chart, but this candle here, this last year's candle, we've from the top to the bottom, we've fallen back down to exactly 50% of that move. You can't really see much from as tempting as it is on that sort of chart, but on the monthly chart, perhaps you can see a little bit better as well. So there's that support level. It's actually also, we're approaching the 200-month moving average. For what that's worth, these charts only go back to 2020, unfortunately. But there you go. I suppose we could have a look further back, but there's no real need to. All we can say about the dollar index is that we're near support or on support, and we're waiting to see what happens. So back to the day chart. Yesterday we got a little bit of a spike low down to that green line, 101.30 or 40, which is the line I've been talking about for a pretty long time. So just dropping through that 50-cent fib down to the green line, back up again. Again, you can't say that's a reversal candle. It's an attempt, but we've still got a lower low and a lower high, as we've had for the last number of days. So this day here, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Today, you could say we've got a higher high, but not very much, nothing significant. If anything, that's a tweezer top, so still bearish, unfortunately. But we'll have to wait and see. This could change within a few hours, and we can see what happens at that stage. The only one that we're in when it comes to the majors is the dollar yen, and you need to go and have a look at the video on dollar yen. I think I've put a link up to it here in the Telegram. I'm pretty bullish on this. I think we can get a retracement back up to perhaps 135, 139 on dollar yen. Go and have a look at the video. But anyway, we're long. It's not showing any aggression upwards yet. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out this week. But we're long dollar yen, as you know, from following the signals. And as for all the other yen pairs, we've got euro yen, pound yen, Aussie yen, CAD yen, New Zealand dollar yen. I think they're all going to depend on what happens to Australian dollar yen. So generally, though, I still like the short on Aussie yen. This is the one that we've done so well on. And we're still below that trend line. We're still moving downwards. And if we can get some retracements back up, unfortunately, these retracements could be quite sharp. This pattern hasn't fulfilled yet, as you can see. And it is kind of looking more and more inclined to move lower. And we should move lower. But a lot will depend on the dollar index, how it affects the Australian dollar against the dollar, which will affect it against all currencies, and then also dollar yen, how that's going to pan out. So everything's a little bit iffy, much the same as the stock markets. And as you know, in the stock markets, we're at major potential turning points where we're separating the bull market rally, or sort of intermediate bear market rally, from a proper bear market rally or even a change in direction. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm still bearish, basically, on stock markets, but we could have more of a significant correction. And again, please forgive me if I'm mumbling and stumbling through this, but I'm just doing this ad hoc and impromptu. And I had a bit of a rough night last night, so I'm a wee bit tired, I have to say. When it comes to these pairs, not everyone trades these, so this is more out of interest. We do have a long trade on here. On the pound South African rand, I'm generally always bearish on the South African rand, so I'm buying pounds against it, and I'm buying US dollar against it all the time. And basically, we on pound pound South African rand, US dollar South African rand, basically at decent buying levels. Nice pullback. Here we've got the 100 period moving average on the pound ZAR, and we've got the 200 day moving average on the US dollar ZAR. So basically I'm pretty bullish on both of these. I've chosen one of them because I think the pound might strengthen against the South African rand more than the dollar, but equally the dollar ZAR is a good bet, and I might put a trade signal in for that. I was just waiting to see what happened at this 200-day moving average, and it's held up pretty well. But as you can see, it's a spiky old currency. It's thinly traded. There are not big volumes going on in these pairs, and liquidity is generally low, so one gets a very spiky pattern a lot of the time, and it can be volatile, unpredictable, and a little bit annoying to trade. But we've got that one on. We might put one on South African rand against the US dollar later today. When it comes to metals, again, we're strongly bullish on gold and on silver. And I'm hesitant to pick tops, particularly on gold. I think we could see a continuation. This really is just a pause pattern that we're seeing here. Move up, bull flag of sorts, just edging down, and then the next move up could be to this line at the top here, which is the long-term channel line, which would be a good place to have a go at shorts. So, and that's not far above us. So we're at 1910 right now. If we get up to there, that'll be 1954. Call it 1950. The top of this channel, and it could even just poke through there. We're not going to get to the bottom of this channel anytime soon, so we'd be looking to sell against the top, really. And I've still got these two green lines in way below us as support. So who knows? We could get a pullback still to these green lines. I don't know. But generally, the idea is to be buying, but not at this level. It's a bit too high, and we are near major channel resistance at the top here. So we can't be buying this, and we can't be selling it until we perhaps get a little higher. So let's try and wait to see how these moving averages catch up. And we're going to have to start drawing in some more fib levels and different support levels, because we've moved off those potential areas below us. So we now got to start looking at 1,800 as first support and not 1,780. So these support levels are slowly moving up as we move higher. And if I just clone one of these lines here, we can see that we could draw a line a little higher. Let's try it, that fib. And yeah, that's a good area. So 1,810, that's actually 1,808 as it stands at the moment. This could move higher and drag this fib higher later on this week. But as it stands right now, if this does form a top, 1,810, call it 1,808, is an excellent support area. And we might not get as low as some of these lower ones that we've had in for this whole time. So you can see why that's a good support area. It's the 38% fib. It's this previous resistance and support, and excuse me, going all the way back along here. We're talking about this top green line at 1808. Pretty decent area of support and resistance going back a long time. So, and it's also near a big round number. Remember these big round numbers on gold, particularly three numbers on gold are really important. That's the big round numbers, 1800, 1700, 1600. And then you get the 50s, like 1750, 1850. And then the 80s and the 20s, like 1820, 1720, 1620, and so on. So those are the numbers to look out for. And this one here at 1808 is a nice, it's near a big round number. So that could be an area of interest if we manage to drop back down again. I think we need to drop back down on gold. It's gone quite a long way quite quickly. Silver looks a bit more interesting, I have to say, simply because we do have a fairly nice downward line here, top trend line. and dare I say a channel line. So if we just copy this, well, let's just clone it. Let's see if we can make a channel line at the bottom. Yeah, so that's a decent channel that we're in, and we're at the top of this channel. And I might be looking to sell silver today. Having a look at yesterday's candle, we made a double top potentially against that previous high from a week or two ago at 24.50. We're now at 24.13, so we might have a go at this one. See if we can't find a definitive top there, and then once again a move back into some of these moving averages and fib levels. And a good one to start with would be at the round number $22. We're at 24 now, so we could get away with a, I don't know, $1.75 risk on this for a $2 gain, and that would be pretty good. So I like the look of silver in comparison to gold. I think we could wait on gold a bit. So watch out for some signals coming through on silver, and the other one was South African Rand, this one. And let me just remind myself, so nothing on the yen crosses. We're already in, we've got the CAD, we've got nothing else going on here at the moment. Dollar yen, we're in, we'll be looking at South African Rand, and then silver. We might have a go at that as soon as I finish this video, so watch out for that. And what else is on here? Natural gas. So we're long natural gas, for those of you who have been watching that saga unraveling, with thousands of views on YouTube and subscribers galore. So people are obviously interested in commodities. I think it's because it's a visceral, down-to-earth type thing to trade. It relates to real things that we use and eat and all that sort of thing every day. So we're long on natural gas from $3.43, I think it is. We're at $3.72 now. So moving into profit, that looks like it's forming a little bottom there. This is definitely a bottoming pattern. Go and have a look at the video on natural gas. It's a good one. And then sugar. We've been short on sugar right from the top. I'm looking to sell sugar again, but that's again commodities. We'll wait for this to rally up a little higher. And then soya, same sort of thing. I want to sell soya beans, but I'm waiting for a rally higher on that. Bitcoin, for those of you who are Bitcoin traders, I haven't been trading this for a while. This rally has surprised everyone, but we've got no higher than 21,400, which was kind of the top of this move before the FTX saga with Sam Bankman-Fried. That's why I'm going SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. Well, we could call it the SBF saga. We're just at the top there. We've got a big gap to fill, so I think the next move on Bitcoin is probably down. Or we might have to get up to the 200-day moving average and then down. But we've got to fill this gap. I don't think we're done with bottoming on Bitcoin just yet. And then the last thing we need to look at is stocks. NASDAQ, S&P. Well, it was a day off yesterday, Martin Luther King Day, so nothing's happened. And we'll have to wait and see. My analysis on the S&P is up on my channel. Go and have a look at that. We're short on this. I'm a little worried. I think the problem, and I pointed this out on one of my videos, the problem is when everyone can see the same pattern, those patterns often get broken, and this is just too tempting to destroy. So I think we're probably going to spike up through this resistance area, this green line. Go and have a look at the video. We've got the downward trend line. Everyone's looking at it. 200-day moving average we've just poked through. We're overboard. We've had many days of rallying, 4 or 5 days of going upwards, and I think we could have another one. And just to break through this and trap a lot of people that are short. In fact, I think it's almost inevitable. And the fact that we didn't get much of a dip over here is also concerning. It's not a lower low. It's actually a higher low. You can see all of these attempts at breaking through this trend line. were associated with lower lows. Now we've got a higher low. So I think we're going to have some problems here, and we might lose that trade. Okay, so that's that. So we're going to be looking at silver shorts and potentially South African Rand short against the US dollar. So in other words, USD ZAR long. And that's that. Let's quickly have a look at what's going on in the news. I'm going to just economic news. So let's go through to today. Let's see what's going on. I don't think a lot. So we've got unemployment rate in the UK coming up in a couple of hours, or in 2 hours from now. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference. We got CPI in Germany. It'll be interesting how inflation's going on in Germany, the biggest economy in Europe. We've got Italian CPI. They all look pretty much like they're going to be as expected, so pretty similar to the US. This is an interesting report, the ZEW. That's coming out in 2 hours' time, and that's expected to drop off. Well, I don't know, actually. It looks like it might be slightly positive. What's that? Let's just have a look. Previous was much more negative. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's going to look a little bit more buoyant. That could be positive for the euro, actually. So that's German ZEW at 12 my time. So that's 10 a.m. UK time. So we've got CPI, ZEW in Germany, and then Canadian inflation rate much later on. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Canadian CPI. Okay, so if we're not in the CAD at the moment, well, we are actually. We're in the Euro CAD, so that'll be interesting. This is going to be this is actually tomorrow morning, the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. This is highly anticipated. We don't think there's going to be any change. Remember, they've made provision for a rate hike, but they haven't done so far. But seeing as we're long dollar yen, this is going to be of great interest. That's at 5 a.m. my time. That's 3 a.m. London time. So that's going to be important. If anything weird should happen there, it's definitely going to affect the trade that we're in. So we'll have to keep an eye on what goes on in there. And that's really all. So we've got some really inflation rate coming out of Europe, inflation rates out of Germany, Italy, and we've got the ZEW number in Germany, which is expected to improve. All right. Well, have a great day. I hope you can make sense of all of that ramble, and I'm going to go and have some coffee.